Hi, this is McKenna, and I am so excited to show you the first episode of Come As You Are, a Beneath the Skin series where we're going to talk to some amazing women who we believe really embody the term authenticity and know that in order to live your best life, you have to come as you are. And I'm just so pumped to have our very first guest, the one and only founder and executive director of Beneath the Skin, Brittany Mullins. Woohoo, yay. It just honestly makes sense to me that you're the first person we talk to because A, Beneath the Skin would not exist without you. And B, I feel like since the very first day I've met you, you are, I just immediately was like, dang, like this is a person who knows who they are and they're not afraid to own it. And I feel like throughout your whole life, there's just been so many moments where you have made decisions that were right for you, even if other people were telling you they weren't, like, you know, getting married at 18 or leaving your corporate job and starting a nonprofit, even though you had no experience in the area. So first of all, kudos to you. Like that's just, yeah, that just takes a lot of courage. So, I mean, just to kind of get us started, talk to me a little bit about your journey and how you feel like you've gotten to a space or how you've learned who your authentic self is and how you can be true to that over time.
Yeah, for sure. First off, thank you so much because you literally always fill my bucket to like I'm gonna get off this call just glowing.
Good. I'm glad.
You're the best. I think that a lot of it comes from hard times. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I've always been an advocate for celebrating challenge because that is where growth happens. You know what I mean? Like if everything was rainbows and butterflies, we would literally stay stagnant in where we were because we wouldn't have anything challenging us to encourage us to grow. Right. So, I didn't have a hard childhood, but I did have challenging aspects to my childhood, such as an alcoholic father that was very verbally abusive and a couple other things that just, impacted my upbringing in a way that made me have to search elsewhere versus like having access to the people in my life that would typically give me what I needed. Right. So, sorry, Maverick is one of the parents, but I'm like trying to encourage him to stay. Yeah. So, I, as much as, I want to also be real in the fact of stating that challenge is hard. You know what I mean? I would never want to wish that on anybody. But I'm thankful for it because it does, it gets you out of your comfort zone and it kind of pushes you through to the next level.
Yeah. I mean, so true. And I think that's such a good way to put it. And often those challenges are scary because they can sometimes be painful. And it just, everything you said is true. So with those challenges, what helped you kind of identify things that are really important to you to be yourself? Do you have like one or two things where you're like, no matter what, like this is something I always want to stay true to, like for myself?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, faith is really important. I am thankful for my faith, especially amongst the hard spaces of my life, to be able to not say like I have to carry this weight on my own, or I am fully in control of everything, because then I would be like, well, I'm totally gonna drop the ball and this is gonna be rough. So definitely that. I think also just believing in myself too, just being able to say, hey, like I just went through this, but I am the strongest person I know. Like if you, and I have said this often that I'm a huge fan of affirmation. And so being able to tell myself that, to say, like, even if I don't feel that way, to say it and to say it out loud. Like I am the strongest person that I know. I have been through XYZ. I have overcome ABC, whatever it is. Like I try to remind myself of the things that I've been able to do or even just accomplish. It's not only about the challenge. It's about like, I have done this, and not everybody can say that, and try to focus on those spaces. And that's what kind of keeps me grounded, is to like who I am, and making sure that I can continue to stay proud of myself. Because it's easy to just kind of be like, okay, yeah, I did that thing and that was awesome. What am I doing today? what am I doing right now? And it's like, it's okay. You don't always have to be performing at this like high level of execution. Like it's okay to just find like celebration, I guess, in the things that you have already accomplished as well. So,
Yeah.
which is my current struggle.
Yeah. I mean, I think though that I think being authentic though, like, and I think you do a really good job of this and you always have, is acknowledging the struggle. And it's so, I know I struggle with this. I think a lot of people do. It feels like if I don't have it all together, or if I'm not, like you said, performing at this like crazy high, 100%, like I'm at 100%, whatever capacity, I'm doing all the things, then I'm not doing enough. And that's just like not true, you know? And so
It's
it's
hard to feel that way in the moment, you know, it's so
yeah.
hard to be like, oh, but that's cool.
Right. Like it's,
You have to like believe it. And that's why affirmations are so huge. Because if you can tell yourself that out loud, literally, like legitimately out loud, tell yourself, like, look at these things that you have accomplished, or look at these things you have overcome. Then it allows you to find, you know, rest in a time frame where you're not overcoming a challenge, or, you know, doing the craziest thing you've ever done, you know.
Yeah, it's a journey, that's for sure. And something that you also talk a lot about, and something that I know I've definitely embodied in my own life ever since I've met you, is the term grace, and really just giving yourself grace, giving other people grace. Can you talk a little bit about why grace is important to you and how it helps you, again, be your authentic true self?
Yeah. Honestly, to me, that's like what life is about. I just think that there's so much to be said about, let's talk about ourselves first, right? So us as individuals, if we don't give ourselves grace, then we literally are holding ourselves to unreachable standards. Then we're constantly putting ourselves down. You're not skinny enough. You're not successful enough. You don't make enough money, you know, whatever it may be. My apologies.
No, is that Maverick?
I have him up on the table for safety reasons, and he's like on right now, of course.
That's okay. If he needs to make a guest appearance, I think everyone would be very happy with it. So
at the end here, I have no doubt that he will.
Okay.
But yeah, so you know, focusing on grace for ourselves allows us to be in the journey too. Like you said, like it is always a journey. Like a destination is, so here's the way that I explain a journey is like, your destination is right now, but that doesn't mean that you're not continuing to move forward. You know what I mean? So like, you're always, or else we're always going to be looking for the next best thing. So it's like, really, if you settle on the fact that you are where you are right now, because that's where you're supposed to be, that means you've reached a destination. But that doesn't mean that that's the end of your journey. Think about a, you know, car, you know, trip across the US. You might have multiple destinations on the way, but your final destination is like, you know, from New York to California, right? Final destination is California, but that doesn't mean that you didn't stop in all of these great spaces along the way to complete your journey. So really, honestly, the biggest piece to that is as you're on that journey, you have to give yourself grace that you're not there yet. Like, that's okay, because where you are right now is where you're supposed to be, or else you wouldn't be there. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, you know, grace for yourself, but also grace for others, I think is so important. And sometimes I think it's easier to give grace to others than ourselves. And I guess it's you know, subjective, but grace for others allows us to love people better. And I really do think, you know what, his time is now. He wants to go.
It needs to be. Yay! Hello. Oh my gosh.
Goodness gracious. You are
welcome. Okay.
Okay, bye. I'll see you later. So anyways, grace for others, I think can be really challenging. You and I, McKenna, have had multiple conversations around, you know, having grace for the people who have hurt us. You know what I mean? It's like, man, how do you do that? Like but really honestly too, giving grace for people who have hurt us is not necessarily for them. It's technically for us, right? It's like a level of like, I'm going to forgive you because that's going to give me peace. And not that I'm not doing it for you, because it's also going to be beneficial for you. But, you know, I may not feel like you're deserving of that, but I'm going to do it because it's going to provide me what I need.
Yeah.
And we have to think about ourselves. We're selfish, like caring for oneself or providing self-care or thinking about giving yourself grace is not a selfish space whatsoever. If anything, it provides you to be the best version of yourself so you can better love the people around you. But everything is based on love, right? Like we need to learn how to love ourselves better. We need to learn how to love one another better, be inclusive, supportive. And the only way to do that, I think, is grace. It's like, how do I do that though? How do I actually do that? It's like grace.
Yeah.
Like this is the answer, you know, this is like the catalyst to get there.
Yeah. No, I think that's just such a great way to put it. And I really love that metaphor of like going on like a road trip from New York to California. I can't say it, California. And I think what's so interesting too is a lot of the times we don't even realize those little stops along the way until we get to the end goal, or we're just further along the line and we kind of look back and are like, dang, like I was actually, you know, I'm so proud of myself for what I did, or, you know, I've come so far. And it kind of sucks sometimes that it takes that like to literally looking back and being like, oh, okay, yeah, in that moment, I didn't feel like I was doing enough, but like I really was doing the best I could, which is all we can do. So I just think that's really brilliant and a really awesome way to put it. Yeah, good job. You're always good at those little metaphors. I'm like, okay, all right, taking that in my back pocket to talk about later. So you obviously talk about like the power of affirmations and how for you it's something that is really important. Do you have like specific affirmations that maybe you've written down or you repeat the exact same ones, or do they change depending on the situation or what you're going through, or what does that look like for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm somebody who I don't have specific ones for specific scenarios. It's like all about how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And so if I am in a space where I'm putting myself down for whatever reason, because we all do that,
Yeah.
unfortunately, all day long. So if I notice and I can catch myself, then I'll say the opposite. So if I'm like looking in the mirror or something, I'm like, oh gosh, like I feel like I've gained so much weight or whatever, you know, it might just be like, but look at your body, like look at how it functions. Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Like, what a blessing. You have every limb, finger, like I only have hearing in one ear, but I have hearing, you know what I mean? Like my eyes work. Like
Yeah.
I just like try to focus on, and again, I'm a huge advocate for saying out loud, because I think that if you write something down or if you say it out loud, you really do tend to believe it more than just like thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so I'll try to catch myself and just affirm in the moment. I feel like it's easier. I feel like for me personally, if I had specific ones, it would start to feel scripted and I probably would stop believing it.
That's, I mean, that's a really, I like that thought process of like, you know, oh, like stop it. Because it is so easy to think that every thought you have is true, when it's not. Like a lot of it can be just insecurity or like society feeding into us, or our past telling us certain things or fears. And I love that. That's a great little tidbit. Again, tucking that away for later on. um, what do you feel like you do to help be your authentic self? Like, is there like, you know, when people ask like, what's your perfect day? Or like, what's, you know, um, for you, do you have certain things that are like, if I'm doing these things, um, and it could be physical things, it could be just like, again, those affirmations or, you know, anything. What does that look like to help you kind of find that authenticity?
Yeah, you know, I'm not sure that I could think of anything specific besides like self-awareness,
Okay.
which, which is a space of learning. I don't think that it comes
Okay.
naturally. Unfortunately, I think maybe for some people it comes naturally, or it's just a little easier to be fully self-aware. Um, but for me, it's taken years and years and years, and I can now, I feel like, catch myself being like, that's an unhealthy thought, or that's a
Mhm.
direction I don't want to go, you know? So if it's like I'm thinking negatively about somebody, for example, it's like, none of us want to be that way. Nobody wants to be judgmental. Nobody wants to think poorly of other people. Do you know what I mean? But like, it happens. We're humans. And unfortunately, that's like our innate, like natural headspace. And so, being self-aware enough to be able to be like, oh, okay, like that's not who you are. And that's also not who you want to be. So how can you like change this conversation? Or if you notice, you're in conversation where you're like, shoot, I've already said it. Now I'm going to have like this, like, oh, I feel awful. I can't believe I said that. So be comfortable and be okay with saying, you know what, I shouldn't have said that. Like, I'm sorry that I just said that about this person. Like, cause that's not who I want to be. They also don't deserve that. They're not here to back themselves up. And to maybe express why they're, so that's like something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Self-awareness of like, you and I just recently, I've talked about this. So full like vulnerable space here, which that's my favorite thing is like transparency. So I'm always all of my cards out on the table. But for me, the space of like recognition, I think that from growing up with a verbally abusive parent, I think that I need, like, I receive love. Words of affirmations is my love language too. And so recognition is a form of that. Right. But as a business owner who doesn't have a boss, or even as, a leader in a sales organization, that really the focus is for that person, these spaces to give recognition, not to receive it, is an interesting space for me. And I'm like, do I really need that? And so just being self-aware of what value does that bring me? And is that the only thing that tells me that I am awesome, or I am, you know what I mean? Like, what are other sources that I can kind of like grasp that need? Because I think that we all need to feel loved. We all need to feel accepted. We all need to feel some level of recognition, even if your love language isn't words of affirmation, but your recognition is that you're getting the physical touch, or you're getting quality time with somebody. So finding other areas to receive that. So as much as I wish that I could give like little teeny tiny, like, it would like while I'm working out or while I'm in prayer and things like that, I think really most of it comes from just being aware and being like, yeah, you're not being who you want to be right now. So what are you going to
I mean, and I think like that, again, I think being authentic means you kind of have to be courageous. And I think it also takes courage to acknowledge when we've done something wrong, or we're doing something that's not healthy for ourselves. And I think a lot of times it's people are afraid to walk back either something they've already said or something they've done, or a thought process that they're just used to, because it's hard and it feels uncomfortable. But I do want to commend you, because I think that you have always been good at that. And that's something that I also have learned and kind of tried to take into every aspect of my life, every relationship I have, of just like, having that vulnerability of, I messed up, or like, I just don't like how I'm viewing myself or whatever. And like, I want to change it. So yeah, I think that's really impressive. And I do hope, that is very courageous, and it takes a lot of strength to do that. So so we are coming up at the end of the time of our chat today. And I guess like just one final question is, for anyone who's watching this, what is one thing that you're like, if you take anything away from these past like 20 minutes, here's the thing I think is not necessarily the most helpful, but maybe the most impactful, or something to just kind of like internalize once you, step away from this, you go back to your normal life. What's one thing that you think could just really help from this past 20 minutes to help people be their best selves?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just kind of thinking back on our conversation here, I probably would say, and probably because it is my motto, it's what I live my life by, and I feel like it definitely gives me the strength that I need in moments that I feel like I don't have it, or the just ability to kind of move forward in difficult situations and whatnot, would be grace. Like, give yourself grace, give others grace. Like, and the word grace, I think, means different things for other people. I think sometimes grace connects to religion, when that's not necessarily true. I mean, yes, of course, but at the same time, like, even if you're not a religious person, or you don't, have any specific faith that you're, invested in, none of that matters. Grace really technically means that you're giving the space to be yourself. You're giving them space to be themselves. and you're allowing you're allowing growth to happen within that space.
Yeah.
And you can do that in any setting, you know what I mean? And you're just giving space. Like that's like so huge. So grace, give yourself grace, give others grace, and never hesitate to reach out to me about what that means. Or I love, I mean, obviously it really is like the mantra of Beneath the Skin. We talk about it with our mentors, our mentees. We talk about it as an internal team. It's what I feel like has provided Beneath the Skin to continue to grow the way that it does. Because we're allowing people to be authentic. We're allowing people to come as they are, and giving them grace throughout that time of their life. And I think grace also kind of embodies the challenges that come too. Because typically, like if you're crushing it, you're like, oh, I should give myself grace. No, grace comes when it's challenging. You know what I mean? So it's like when we say that all the time as a team, like I'm like, oh man, sorry, you guys really dropped the ball here. Thank you for the grace. Yeah. So think of, it's almost like grace is the bridge from challenge to growth.
Ooh. Oh, somebody write that down. That was really good. I love that. Good. Dang. Wow. What a closing statement. Love it. Yeah, well, that concludes our first episode of Come As You Are, Brittany. I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do for Beneath the Skin, for all the people in your life, but also for making time to chat with me today. It's been great.
You're amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for watching. And we'll see you next episode.